Hi, good day. My name is Karen Duncan, and today I'd like to share with you a new function that has been released in the Microsoft 365 version of Excel for those subscribed on the beta channel. It's called the Lambda function, and it allows you to create your own customized functions inside of Excel. You can then give that customized function a name, and you can use that wherever you'd like throughout your workbook. This can allow you to take very complicated formulas and give it a clear and simple name and a clear description, and users would better be able to understand your formulas. Take a look at this video and let me know if you see any other advantages that you can get out of using Lambda. Formula. Now if you look into this cell, you can see that I have a formula here. I can use Lambda to turn this formula into a function, and then I can apply that throughout my workbook. In order to do that, I'm going to click here and I'm going to type Lambda, because the way that Lambda works, you have to wrap your formula inside of the Lambda function, and that's how you turn that formula into a function. Now notice it asks us for two arguments, either a parameter or a calculation. Now the way that you have to structure the Lambda, you have to include the parameter first, or parameters, because you can enter multiple parameters, and you have to include the calculation last. Now what exactly is a parameter? Well, you might think of a parameter as an argument inside of a function. Actually, it is an argument inside of a function. Let me demonstrate. Let's come out of here, and if I click here and I type equal len and I put my open bracket, notice that the len function asks me for a specific argument. It asks me for a text. I need to include this argument for the function to give me some results. In a similar way, let's click back here. When using Lambda, we can give it an argument or arguments that it will apply when using the function. Now, in this case, I want my argument to be the sale value, because that's going to be what I will use to perform my calculation or to use my formula. Now, we can give our parameter or the argument any name that we'd like. I'm going to simply call this sale to make things clear. Now, this is referring to cell B3, the sale. So what I can now do is, wherever that cell is referenced inside of my formula, I can change that reference to the argument name that I gave it. So I'm going to change this to sale. If I close this off and I click enter, I'll get a calc error. Now, why do we get this calc error? Well, pretty much what's really going on here is this is actually a function that we've just created, but we don't have any arguments. So as is the case with any function, to enter an argument, we're going to enter an open bracket. Now we're going to put in our argument. Now remember, our argument is B3. So I'm going to click that. I'm going to close my bracket and I click enter. Notice I get my calculation. Now bear with me. I just used this very simple example to demonstrate the way that Lambda works. I'm going to demonstrate a more complex scenario, and then we're going to actually name our Lambda, and that's going to really help you to appreciate just how powerful the Lambda function is. In my next example, I used a nested if to determine the amount of bonus that my employees should receive. The amount of bonus that they receive is determined by the amount of lights that they've assembled. If someone new interacted with this worksheet, they may have a hard time understanding what this formula is all about. Let's use the Lambda function to turn this formula into a function. So in order to do that, I'm going to copy my formula. Next, let's click inside of this cell and let's type equal Lambda. Let's paste in our formula and let's click here and include a parameter. Now, as we mentioned earlier, the amount of bonus that my employees receive is going to be determined by the amount of lights assembled. So I'm going to make that my argument. I'm going to call it lights assembled. Click comma there. And as we did in the previous example, wherever that reference is, which is D6, because D6 shows the amount of lights that have been assembled, I need to change that to my argument. So I'm going to change that throughout. Let's do that. Great, all done. Let's include a bracket at the end of this function here. And if we click enter, we're going to get the calc error. Why is that? Because we need to apply an argument. Let's put an open bracket and let's select D6 as our argument. If we close the bracket and click enter, we get back the exact calculation. So we've effectively changed that very complicated formula into a function. Now here's where things get very, very interesting. Now if you look inside of my formula bar here, you're going to see that I still have a pretty long and scary function. Now this is where you really see the benefit of using the lambda function. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to copy our lambda function. Let's go to the name manager. Let's click new. And let's paste in our lambda function right here. Let's give our function a name. Let's just call it bonus calc. That's pretty simple. We can also give it a description. So we're actually going to tell our users what this customized function does. Great. Let's click OK. Let's close that off. Now, let's apply our new customized function. I'm going to type equal, and I'm going to type bonus, and as you can see, it comes up as a function. Let's accept that, open bracket, and I'm going to include my lights assembled. That's my argument. I close the bracket and I click enter, and there you have it. I get my calculation. Pull this all the way down. I get the exact same calculations. Now take a look at another awesome benefit of using Lambda. If I click the name manager and I go to my customized function here and I click edit, if I go into this bar down here and I make a change to the way the calculation is performed, let's say I change this 125 to 130. If I click OK, then I'm about to click close. Notice that you're going to see some changes to some of the figures here. I click close and you can see some changes were made. So wherever I've used this function throughout my entire workbook, all of the changes will be made simultaneously. So you don't have to go back everywhere you've used that function and update it. So if you're a business or an individual that uses Excel, the Lambda function is just one of the many reasons why you should probably get the Microsoft 365 version of Excel. As I mentioned today we just looked at an introduction to using Lambda. In the next video, we look at some more advanced uses of Lambda, including using recursive lambdas. I'm pretty sure you're going to enjoy that. So if you want to see that, then go ahead and click subscribe. And if you appreciated what I shared today, then go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. So I want to thank you very much for dropping by, and bye.